the big thing we wanted to kind of hit on today was talking about really just the fear-based religion that we kind of throw out versus the freedom of true spirituality. And I don't even really know where to initiate this conversation other than just to say, I think we can all pretty much agree fear's like the primary emotion we use to like quote unquote evangelize, right? Like
Right.
the entire evangelical church movement, and really, I mean, even past that, really just church throughout history, it's been fear. So why fear? What is it about fear whenever there's supposedly so much more to this whole Jesus God thing?
So I don't know, man, I wanted to look up the author, and I'll try to get it to you for maybe the show notes. Um, but there was a book that I came across not too long ago, and something I had never understood until recently. Did you know that until 400 AD, the Hebrew alphabet did not have vowels? Right.
Yeah.
So in 400 AD, it's recorded that there's different rabbis that were around at that time that basically said that's the year that God died. And the reason is because the scriptures didn't have vowels. And so when the reader would read the scriptures, they would have to insert their own vowels. And to give you a prime example for this discussion, the difference between the word fear and the word love is one vowel, right? And so there's a reason that in the Jewish tradition, they would ask questions like, why did you read it that way? Because it was viewed as a mirror of yourself inside of the Bible. So whereas you read it, you were illuminating what you thought. You were illuminating what you believed. And then you would have other teachers and other people saying, well, why do you believe that? Why did you read it that way? And so fear being the primary motivation is, I believe, the mirror of the fact that it comes from our basic assumption that God is different than we are. Therefore, we must be less than he is. Now, I believe God is different than we are because he is the universal mind, right? I am not the universal mind. I have access to the universal mind through the Spirit. I can know anything that I desire to know. That's how the creative process works. That's how what the scripture says, that we can freely know. But nonetheless, I don't know everything. My neighbor is he's a shade tree mechanic. He works out of his house. I don't know how to repair a big block engine. I could know that if I wanted to, but I don't. And so knowing everything and having the ability to know anything are not the same thing. So we are not the Father, but we are exact representations of his likeness. And so we see that difference, and it equals in us that we are, well, he's different than I am, therefore I'm not God. I'm not. And I teach that it's actually, we should see our likeness and realize that is the very thing that makes us part of God, is because without us, he doesn't have a body. Without us, he doesn't have individual expression. Without us, he doesn't have experience inside of time and space. So the fact that we're not the universal mind actually is the reason we should look at ourselves and see our I amness instead of our I am notness. And all that to say, it is that core assumption that even Eve makes, when you eat of this tree, then you will be like him. So she saw her difference and didn't see it as evidence of oneness. She saw it as evidence of separateness. And so all of our human doings are filtered through this idea of separation. And therefore, when there's someone bigger, badder, and better than you, then you're forever in this energy of trying to measure up. And that's why no matter how many times you quote the scriptures about being one with God, or I'm in you and you are in me, if you have a fear or if you have a separation mindset, you cannot see scripture through love. I believe it is inherently impossible.
That's good. And I feel like separation mindset is maybe not intentionally, but almost exclusively taught, right?
Yes.
Like, and just as you're saying it, I'm like trying to track through my own, spiritual baggage that I've kind of accumulated. I'm just like, wow, like there's this idea that I am one with God. It's told like, oh yeah, you're his creation. You're to dwell with God. You're to be in his presence, but it's never expressed of like, you are one with your creator. You are in him. And that separates you away from all of this sin nature, kind of like just going back to what we were talking about before we officially started talking about this topic. Like it's that sin nature is dead, but yet we identify so rooted in that.
Yeah. You know, I think it's for me, when you look at the life of Jesus, and for his 3.5 years, he says, I only do what I see the Father doing. I say what I hear the Father saying. My work is to do the will of the Father. And he creates this separation, if you will, between him and Father. And then at the very end, he, in the upper room, I think it's Nathaniel, who says, show us the Father and it'll be enough. It might be Tim or Philip. I never remember. And he says, Nathaniel, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Mm-hmm. I and the Father are one. And it's like there's this inherent, like, guys, if you don't get it from inside, I can't give it to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it is the white stone that no man can receive no man can know except for him who receives it. Not even Jesus can give you your I amness. You have to receive it for yourself. And so when if that is our name, and I believe that is, I am, right? We are. And I can't tell somebody your name is I am, because the moment it comes out of my mouth, I'm trying to say, hey, his name is I am. The moment I'm saying your name, I'm talking about myself. It is a first person reality that not even Jesus himself can give to you. And so he's doing what he can to draw this oneness. And at the very end, he's like, guys, you still don't get it. You still don't understand that this is oneness.
What comes in my mind talking about this is whenever Peter was walking on the water with Jesus, but then he realized, like, oh, I'm walking on water, and then had that, I'm almost like, not necessarily filthy rag, but just like that he wasn't one with God, and then immediately, like, wasn't walking on water with Jesus. Like, he realized, like, oh,
I'm not Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not Jesus. I can't do this. I shouldn't have this power, but he had it. And so that's just like what I keep envisioning talking about all of this.
Yeah, the idea of it's literally in those moments of his doubt, he separates himself from that one. The doubt is kind of what led to that separation. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard sermons, people, that Peter lost faith in Jesus, like, because it says, "Oh, you have little faith," or like, and the reference is kind of to Peter's faith, and it's like, I don't think Peter has nothing to do with his faith in Jesus. It has everything to do with his faith in himself.